Hi there. Welcome to Life Between Coasts, the podcast where we dive into our personal journeys connected through synchronicity. So light a candle, grab a cup of coffee, and let's begin. I'm your host, Leah, and we're glad you're here. Today, we're sitting down with Amin Curry, owner and founder of Immersive Homes, and we're going to talk a little bit about what home means to our audience. And so, Amin, tell me a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I founded Immersive Homes probably 2 years ago, and it was an extension of one of the other businesses we were running. We liked the idea as it relates to homes of sort of trying to push the edges of what modular assemblies of homes could look like, and how we could make that a little easier for people to see their vision in their home. And I sort of come to it from a private equity type background, where we look at different businesses and different industries and see different areas that we can participate in them. And so this was just a natural outgrowth of one of those businesses.
Right. And now, going from private equity into developing, why did you transition into that?
So private equity extends into development of all of all types, right? You've got
You need the money side
yes, so they're
to do anything.
they're pretty closely related, and in this case, it was a sort of a path that led from multifamily
Okay.
all the way to single family builds.
Okay. And now with Immersive Homes, the concentration is on modular construction or all forms of the prefabricated or pre-engineered architecture?
Yeah, so it's off-site architecture.
Okay.
We specialize in the parts of the home, and maybe even the whole home, that can be fabricated at an off-site facility and then brought to the home site.
Right.
And there's lots of different flavors of it.
Right. And is your focus to do more of the modular, or is it to do more panelized, or a blend of whatever, or part stick built, part modular? And of course, to kind of define a few things. So modular panels are built in the factory off-site, brought to the job site, and then put together, reassembled if it's a panel, kind of connecting each part together to put the house together. I mean, I've seen different builds or different companies, let's say, that can show a watertight new construction in less than a week on a panelized home in certain instances, depending on the size, of course.
Yeah, so there's two or three, but we'll focus on two distinct types of architecture. One of them is panelized, and one of them is volumetric cubes.
Okay.
Volumetric cubes, like Legos, are pre-established lengths, widths, heights of cubes that are then assembled in almost any sequence in order to create the interior space. Panelization is more akin to an erector set.
Okay.
So you're looking at the bones of the house,
right?
Be it light gauge steel or red iron, where you need structural points, and pre-establishing those, then pre-cutting them, assembling those into walls, i.e. the panel, then shipping those for reassembly on the site. Those are your two basic types.
Right. And now with the modular, though, the interiors are finished versus the panelized. They're still doing the interiors when they're on site.
That's right. And with mod, you can ship it 90% complete.
Right.
It's got its advantages there. And with the panelized system, it's really more of a frame. Now, the frame is advanced. It's got plumbing, it's got electric, it's pre-cut. So there's a lot of work that's done in the panels, depending on how you want your panels. Some people don't want them that complete.
Right.
But, there's drawbacks and benefits to each.
Right.
And we can kind of drill into that as you're wanting.
Exactly. Now, where did your interest personally, where did your interest come into wanting to deliver home for people?
So as private equity,
Mm-hmm.
uh, manufactured home community ownership and management,
Mm-hmm.
when you're in that business and in what uh, the industry euphemistically calls value add, um, you're in the home building business,
Right.
right? These are simpler homes. They're typically 1 and 2 box sets, occasionally 3.
Right.
But we've done hundreds of those.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the process of doing that and working with our customers. I
Right.
still handle all the customer calls um, and customer consultations. And
Mm-hmm.
doing that, we started to uh, piece together that the model itself, modular homes, has hundreds, and really it's hundreds to the 100th power
Mm-hmm.
of options
Mm-hmm.
that are all for free,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're going to do it whether you ask them to do it or not.
Right.
All those options, from colors at counters to floor types to the type of trim to it's endless,
Right.
and it's endless to some massive power.
Mm-hmm.
We started looking at that and saying there's a real disconnect between what's happening over here at the factory with all these options and what the person over here can actually see.
Right.
That's our customer. And in looking at that, we started saying there's got to be a better way to help this guy
Mm-hmm.
build his or her home, like
Mm-hmm.
make it mine, and this guy over here that views it as sort of 1,000 SKUs that
Mm-hmm.
need to be assembled into a master SKU.
Right.
And so that's where the concept of immersive home came from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's really the kernel of it, is how do you connect these two things in a visual way so that he's building a home while he's assembling parts.
Right. And that's where the added element of the virtual that you do on the office side
Right.
with the build. So you're able to place the home on the lot, turn it around, and kind of show how that looks, and then also show interiors because you have an amazing design team.
So when I started thinking about how do I bridge that gap, how do I help
Mhm.
this guy build a home while this guy's assembling a factory, there was a lot of words, right? I'm asking him, I'm talking to that guy, or our salespeople are, and I started to try to figure out how do I engineer the words out of this?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very hard for you to explain to me the color of floor you want, but it's easy for you to point at it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Well, it goes back to the old adage: a picture's worth a
a
1,000 words.
picture's worth 1,000
Yeah.
words,
Simple as that.
and so that's where I began developing the tools
Mm-hmm.
to take language out of it and start to get a lot closer to pointing at what I like. So where the VR is super helpful is when we're later in your design phase, but you're walking through your house looking at your micro corners and micro spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're trying, we're starting to engineer solutions for that, right? Be it interior decorative or architectural,
Mm-hmm.
or the solutions could be a million different things. It could be a lighting thing. It could be a excess of lighting thing.
Right.
There's all kinds of things that we can begin to stop talking about and start pointing at.
Mm-hmm.
If we could only see the home and be in the home and feel the home before it exists.
Yes. And that's on a build. I mean, whether it's stick build, modular, or any which way, I mean, to be able to see, I would say there's a very limited amount of population that can envision it in their brain and see the final product because of course, some special talent of some sort. But to be able to visualize it through those goggles.
Yeah. And even if they could visualize it, could they explain it? Right?
That's the hardest thing.
Yeah, the mind's eye is the hardest thing to extract in a customer.
Yes.
And it's almost impossible to relate to a factory.
Right.
Who's got
Well,
an engineer on the other side, like, what SKU number do?
right. You're the expert, right? So you know the technical term, and they say that Philly thing, or whatever, and they don't know the terminology for it. So that's hard for the consumer to explain it.
So in one of my past lives, I worked in software.
Okay.
As part of the whole private equity thing.
Okay.
And that's where we went to work. It's like, okay, how do we start reducing this thing to language and like visual language on this side?
Mm.
That's technical language on that side.
Right.
And we found that the bridge is essentially a enhanced virtual reality.
Okay.
Virtual reality that has a layer of code
Mm-hmm.
inside of it and behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So the inside of it is super easy. It's a set of choices that you can make by touching a screen. I want the blue counters. I want the red. I want the
Right.
light. And then a layer above that is I want the 3-bedroom, the 2-bedroom, the 1-bedroom.
Right.
And so you can choose those things. Uh, on the technical side, it's what are you choosing? Like what SKU bundle does that represent?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the way we started going about it. And we're, about a year and a half into it, a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting.
So how is the process, for you as you're going through, really a startup of getting, this new technology into the use of consumers and then teaching um, other realtors, brokers, anything like that, the education side of understanding the differences between, there's so many products out there. You said at one, the one side that you had managed the manufacturing home or housing communities, but manufactured's different than modular, which is different than panelized, which is different than which is definitely different than all stick built because that's all done on site. So, the craftsmanship is different, the product is completely different, but how do we educate, or how do you feel like with this process, the education side of bringing the message to people that have the clients to bring to you?
Yeah, that's a super interesting question. How did we attack it?
Mm-hmm.
I attacked it on two parallel paths. Let's develop the software over here. And back to our private equity, let's use our balance sheet to just build them. Right? Let's take the home, design it with our system, and build it. We're sitting in one.
Right. Yeah,
Uh,
we are. We happen to be in Fenville, Michigan. So the first completed modular constructed home of Immersive, and this is a beautiful, beautiful home with I mean the moldings. I live in now. My house is 100 years old, so
See, I love that kind
it,
of
it it's creaky and but the moldings and things. It's the real old wood, old growth wood. I've restored all but 6 of the windows at this point. All new ropes and weights and things, and cool. It's drafty as anything. So, but it's that's what it is. But these moldings, I'm staring at the doors and just they're the wider base moldings. The crown. I mean, it's beautiful. It's absolutely glorious, and it sound tight because we're not having that big of an echo. We hear a little bit of the outside, but that's going to happen. It's just a beautiful, beautiful home.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm.
So the process though is sort of select,
Mm-hmm.
design,
Mm-hmm.
model, and on the other side it's fabricate, ship, and build.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's how we set out to do it. We said, okay, before other people start using this, let's build 8 or 10 or 20,
Yeah.
and put them into the field
Yeah.
and use our own process to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's anything but perfect, right? So we're designing the process and building the code
Right.
and going through the technical side
Mm-hmm.
uh, while we're, in the build process.
Mm-hmm.
But we're pretty far into it now. Even though this is the first one that's delivered, there's another, 8 or 10 that are
In process, yes.
along that process. And there've been tons
Right.
of iterative work back and forth and improvements. And,
Right.
certain aspects of the software are in 2.0, other aspects are still in beta.
Yes. And I understand it completely, but everything takes a process, and I've always explained that as part of what we do through for our listing audience here as well is they understand that, we were in our first season, especially experimental in the parts of learning and everything, but you're going to have your fails every now and again, but as long as you bounce back and you learn from them, and move forward, that's perfect.
Yeah, we don't, yes, there's tons of fails. But that's what builds a system.
Yeah.
Systems are built
Right.
by engineering
Mm-hmm.
coded and process solutions
Right.
that prevent future failures from past failures.
Yes.
That's what a system is.
Exactly, and the process is, from my understanding, just going through the website and then understanding a little bit of background. Now this is my first time meeting you, of course. So let me just kind of reacquaint a little bit here. Again, for the listening audience, we've known each other for now for a little over, I'd say about 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
my Mister, who I call him, he stays anonymous on here. He's an attention stealer and wants to stay anonymous. The mask, you know, behind the screen. He is we joke and call him the compliance officer
Yeah.
because his nose is always to the grindstone and he's reading in between the details. But that's of course how we became acquainted. And I've had the opportunity to work with you a little bit in the first part of our introduction, and hope to continue some sort of relationship moving forward. Just because I love this product and I love the idea, and I hope that it gets to the point where you're nationwide and in every state and all major cities where they're wanting just the immersive homes product. I think you have the ability to be the leader in this type of industry.
So that's the interesting thing about reducing the buildable models
Mm-hmm.
to an application.
Right.
Is it can go anywhere.
Right.
Right. We're not needing to be in any one geography.
Exactly.
All we need is a construction backbone
Mm-hmm.
in whatever destination wants that product.
Right.
And so it is highly scalable, and it does travel.
Yes. No, I do. I that's where I think that there's so much that will come out of this in the home side. Now, for you, you're not a resident of Michigan. You're down in Florida, so you're doing the same thing. You're probably cold because
Freezing.
we dipped down into about the 65 degrees. It's the fan is on. We should shut that off.
Freezing.
That's okay. But
I don't own socks, as you can see.
I didn't wear them, but that's okay because I live here. You're lucky. I actually had clothes turned on. I was like, I should wear my Birkenstocks. I'm like, yeah, okay.
My toes are numb.
But soon enough, you'll be back in the warmer temperatures. That's always a good thing. But but you didn't grow up in Florida.
Nope.
You did grow up in the Northeast, correct? Or
I grew up outside of Boston.
outside of Boston. Okay, so I've always loved the Northeast. And that I think I was okay to be born in Michigan because I love this state, but I'll tell you, I love the Northeast. Maine, I have a strong tie to for some reason. I keep going back.
Maine's a
there.
great state.
I do. I absolutely love it. I actually went to the Margaret Chase Smith Library in Skowhegan and spent a week there doing a first person report for one of my college courses. And so so I just keep in that's where my dad went to school before he left and things like that. So there's a little bit of connection there. But I remember leaving from there and just driving down the coast back to Boston because I was flying out of Logan that day. And my mister's daughter most recently lived there for the past 3 years, and she actually just moved to California now. So she is out of that area.
Substantially warmer than Maine.
Yes, yes, I think so. But she was in Boston actually.
Oh, okay.
For 3 years, but but I love that area. So now, why the decision to leave the cold? I mean, you had snow and nor'easters and all that fun stuff there.
Yeah. So I actually went to Florida via Texas.
Okay.
One of the companies that we were involved in was headquartered in Texas.
Okay.
I had a couple years there living in Texas. Then that company consolidated and relocated. That operating company that was part of the private equity enterprise.
Right.
Consolidated and relocated to Florida, and I've been there ever since.
And so, and then now you have the thin blood and
But,
can't handle.
It's been a good.
And this is warm.
27 or 28 years.
Yeah, so no, that happens. I remember again little snippets of I have family that was in the Sarasota, Bradenton area, and so that's where the first half of my life when we would visit, we'd be on the Gulf side. But I remember going to see like the lunar eclipse or something of the sort, and they're like, "Oh, take a sweater, it's gonna be cold."
Yeah, right.
And we're out on the pier, and it's like 65 degrees, and we're like peeling our clothes off, going, "Okay, this is not cold."
So 65 where I live, everyone's breaking out their boots and leather.
Yeah,
It's winter.
it's fun. It's great just to see the climate changes. But now, so what brought you? So from Massachusetts to Texas to Florida. What brought you to Michigan for business then?
Michigan, we had an investment in Michigan, and as part of that investment, we had a residential construction company.
Okay.
And that just made it the best place to sort of, this is our first market. This is our pilot test market. And so that's why we did it here.
Okay.
It didn't have
Is
some
just getting some
yeah,
infrastructure that people already were in place.
I can't claim some mountain of research that indicated the geography.
Well, just out of curiosity, just because it's where kind of where you end up. What now? What else? Why do you kind of going back into the home side of it? What do you What's your favorite part of everything that you do?
I have two favorite parts.
Mm-hmm.
But they come together pretty nicely.
Okay.
I really enjoy the moving from architecture to the coded gift of that architecture.
Right.
For people to modify. I love getting out of the way and giving somebody a set of guideposts through which they can sort of create their own vision.
Okay.
I love it when a customer moves boxes around or starts creating their own look and feel in a virtual world.
Right.
And begins to see the leverage of the process.
Okay.
So we were our own internal customer to start with for the first, 8 or 10. And now more recently, the last 3 or 4 months, I'm starting to work with folks that are beginning to plan on their builds. And that's a really fun part of the process, is seeing the tools work, re-engineering where it's not as intuitive as we would have liked, and then, kind of putting it back in and watching them go through a process. That's my favorite part.
Excellent. Now, what with the client base where's your target audience? Where right now, I mean, we're on the west side of Michigan, so we are in the Saugatuck Douglas area. You have an office that's open in Douglas that will have the ability to walk through the virtual reality process with of picking everything, but you have salespeople there and other designers and people available.
Yeah, honestly, the region that seems to be the fastest on the uptake is what we call our Traverse City region.
Okay.
I don't know why. I suspect I have some suspicions as to why, but that's where it's been sort of adopted quickly.
Okay.
Of the sort of 10 or so right now that are a little deeper in the design phase, a big percentage of that is that region.
Okay.
And I can't say for sure why, but I have a feeling it's because our technology works really well where it's hard to build things.
Yes.
Right. So where shipping can offset trades and depth of trades, where you can do it at a distance, minimize that site work, and then bring it in, they seem to be adopting quickly.
And I can see where a lot of that shift in, the movement would fit into that area quite well, because there is also in that region, there's a lot of land, and there's a lot of people that are looking to move up there. And there's a lot more, I think, population growth that's going on, especially like around the Grand Rapids as well as the Traverse City area. You see the sprawl, and they have to, and that helps.
So I did every once in a while, we take a look at the demographics of Michigan.
Right.
And overall, it's pretty even. It's not growthy and it's not shrinking like some states. It's the migration within it that's sort of interesting. And there's a lot of migration up there.
There's, it's interesting to me because I think every Michigander's dream is to have that up north house on the lake, and it's what lake, because
there's a lot of lakes.
Yeah, at any given moment, I think less than a mile is the ruling from either a lake or a river or one of the Great Lakes, of course, depending how close you are.
Right.
And we're not that far away. We're probably about 15 minutes.
Here, we're less than that, I think.
Okay, so 10 to 15 minutes to Lake Michigan, downtown Douglas, and then Saugatuck being right there, which is a wonderful vacation tourist spot as well. Just being on the water is just anytime you're on the water.
Yeah, that's why we chose Douglas.
Yeah,
less than a half mile from the lake there.
Right.
In that whole little area.
That's a beautiful thing because water is so important to all Michiganders, I do believe. So I think anybody, I mean, to live, we need water, right, Alexis, for adorable. Yes, something like that. But what else about immersive homes? What other things can you tell me? I mean, tell me a little bit about. So now you have design people that strictly do the virtual reality, and then you have architecture, a group of architects that are designing the product. Now you talked about working with the end consumer, how you like to see how they're starting to move the boxes and things.
Yeah.
How does that happen? How customizable is the modular? I mean, interior wise, I figured you could pick your cabinets, your counter, your lights, your whatever. But exterior, I mean, if it's a box, so how much can you do?
You can do a lot.
Okay.
You can do an awful lot.
Okay.
It's how much you can do at what price.
Right.
But you can do a lot. The boxes themselves don't care how you line them up, for the most part.
Right.
So you can do a lot. The practical reality is that it's already all been done. There's only so many ways that one approaches
Right.
a 4,000 square foot and below type house.
Right.
Anything above that sort of 3,500, you're starting to get bigger, and the boxes are starting to take on more challenging configurations. The spaces become much bigger. The modular structure itself starts to become different when you get into these much bigger spaces.
Right.
And when we go bigger, we go with more of a panelized approach to it.
So that I can see where the changeover would happen. I could understand. Now there's a lot where you do the modular, but then you also can do stick built around. Correct?
Yeah,
it's a combination. You can do change anything.
There's no rules. I mean, there are no rules, and probably here in Michigan, one of the great ways to see that is barn dominium. Right? How do we want to approach large spaces?
Right.
And
so tell me more about those.
Yeah, so we're designing a couple now.
Okay.
It'll be a mixture of modular structures and steel framed structures. Steel frame is going to give you sort of ceilings that go forever. If that's what you want, you're going to get massive doors and windows if that's what you want.
Right.
And so, that's how we'd approach that, with a sort of an erector set approach.
Okay.
Where do you integrate, structural iron versus light gauge steel for that?
Right.
And then how do you then integrate your modular construction within that into the different spaces? And, that's as diverse as a custom design.
Right.
I mean, once you're there, it's we're going to...
Now, those are, so the full whatever size that they choose to build would then be converted, and the interior would all then become living space or garage underneath and apartment upstairs, or how do they
also? So we can look at that with a particular build. I will call it second Mr. X, or whatever. What do we call him?
I just call him my Mister.
The Mister. Okay,
yeah.
Somebody else's Mister.
Yeah.
What they're doing is a massive barn.
Okay.
And there's a breezeway, and it's modular.
Okay.
And the breezeway is leading into a massive, sort of very open, 2,000 square foot living space.
Okay.
And so there's a couple of different types. You've got your barn, then you've got your massive, sort of open living space, and then you've got a modular section.
Right.
That's, it's going to connect them, that handles, aspects of their build.
Okay. Well, it just shows, now what do you find? I mean, there's so many options, but what do you find as the limitations? Ceiling height, you said,
yep. So
is usually the biggest, but when people want cathedral or, things like that, that's where.
So modular is going to be limited in ceiling height.
Okay.
And that's not limited by the factory. It's limited by what you can ship over the roads.
Right.
Yeah, it's very super practical.
Yes.
If
you can't get it down the road, how are you going to get it to the site?
And your steel or panelized is going to be, its limitation is it's about 25% more expensive. And it's going to take almost twice as long
Mm-hmm.
to get those portions. So whereas one's kind of 6 months start to finish, the other one's going to be more like 12.
Okay. Okay.
And those are really the limitations. It's always cost and time.
Right. And what is the price point of the average price point of what Immersive is currently building on the 8 to 10 homes that are under construction?
Our all-in construction cost is, coming in somewhere around 250.
Okay.
And I like nice finishings.
Well, no, absolutely. This is, I mean,
You can do it for less. You can do it for more.
right. Well, and you seem to be delivering a superior product. I mean, this is the countertops and the just the touches with the
Right. And so that's why
the
I
faucets and
hate
things.
the concept of cost.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I look at is value per square foot,
Right.
right? So just like a movie, they're all 2 hours. Some cost, 200 million, another costs, 3 million to
Right.
make. And it's all about what, how much money you're spending per second of shooting time
Right.
or cut time. Same thing in building. I mean, it's so misleading to say what the cost is.
Right.
But the value per square foot, I think, is really good.
Mm-hmm.
For what we're delivering at that price, we've got really good finishings and
Well,
a tight product.
and I'll tell you that the house that we're sitting in, when you pull into the driveway, it's beautifully done on the exterior, but it's deceiving. When you look at it, you're like, oh, that's not that big of a house. And then you walk in and you're like, wow, this is a very large. I mean, the main floor is just a little over 1,600 square feet, but it's just a very comfortable 1,600 square feet. I like the split master off to the side, bedrooms this way. That's an important thing. Just having that separation between the bedrooms, I think creates that distance.
And that's super modular, like
Mhm.
what you're saying. If you wanted a bigger master,
Right.
right now we're either extending or adding boxes. If you wanted a larger open space like we're in, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've always got the whole basement area with
Right.
these. Like you can put a full basement, and in this case, we have a walkout.
Mhm.
And so there is an architectural component to all of these, to every build,
Right.
where you're looking at the topography and the land and deciding what's optimal.
Right.
And, there's a lot of engineering expertise at the factory that go into these. So they've done a very good job of creating these spaces.
And now you bring up the factory, which is interesting. The relationships that you build with the different factories that build the modular, the panelized. What is significant about being built off site? What makes it such a better idea or a better way of building out versus stick built?
So it's, I don't like to say better. I think it's,
Well, no, they're both good,
because
but there's pluses and minuses.
there's a million ways to get to El Paso,
Mhm.
and they're all good.
Yes.
What does a factory do well? You get a ton of quality per square foot
Mm-hmm.
because it's a science there. They do it the same way every time. They have a system that can be improved.
Right.
Supervision of trades is done much better with, supervisory posts. So every fab center in a factory is supervised, and it's supervised by the same people every day in the same way every day and the same hours every day.
Yep.
And so it's a system. It's a manufacturing system.
The quality control is in place right there.
So it's done live. It's done with multiple video feeds. The same people check in and check out every day.
Right.
And so when you start to put something that's machined through a manufacturing process instead of a construction process,
Right.
you can start to engineer out cost, engineer in quality,
Right.
build that into the fabrication line. And so square is truly square, like a machine said it's square, not a guy.
Well, right. Well, that's what I'm in my thought, because even going to like a community where you have 5 models, they're all stick built. Pick one, we'll put it on your land for you.
Right.
There's still differences in each and every single one of those, because it was who woke up late that day and rushed to work, who, it's not the same, or who was not feeling well or having a bad day. And so, or a tool breaks. And so they just kind of put these two together and forget to nail in the extra five nails. And then the after check is the building inspector who just kind of walks around, looks, checks a few things, spot checks, but it's not that consistent quality control.
We don't deal with that.
Yeah.
Right. We have machines do it all.
Yeah.
The machines do it all with guys running the machines. Same guys are supervising them. And then the supervisors of the supervisors are doing it.
Like,
we don't deal with that.
Yeah.
We don't.
It's the Henry Ford of housing of sorts.
Right. That process is
automated.
Yeah. It's automated, and there's a lot of benefit in that. A ton.
That's good. Now, how many models is Immersive Homes offering currently?
I mean, so we can do custom ones to start with, and so because it's like Legos, right now our catalog fully VR enabled, we're sitting at about 20.
Okay.
This time next year it'll be closer to 80.
Oh, nice.
And it takes time. So for every model that is on our website, those take me our team a good week to put them together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not all we're really doing. I mean, it's not having a gazillion models is not it's not the be all and end all, because nobody buys a model off the shelf. Right. So it's, I like this and I need 4 bedrooms. Okay. Let's look at what that might look like for you.
Mm-hmm.
So every single model that's out there is really designed for you to look at, to understand it, experience the spaces if you want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We can image their lot, wherever they want to build, we can make that into a file.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that file's photorealistic and it's, 3-dimensional. So we can take a VR model and put it onto that lot,
mm-hmm.
And start to look at it that way. But that's what it's for. And so right before I met with you, that's what I did. I was talking to somebody about where's your lot, what home appeals to you the most. Now, what changes do you need?
Mm-hmm.
The architectural group is making the changes. Then it'll go into the modeling group. The folks in the field are scanning the lot, and by the middle of next week, we'll have their home on their lot for them to look at.
Nice. Yeah, and I like going back to just having that process in place. That's the key, is to making sure all of this goes smoothly.
Yeah, we have I think about a week. So if somebody shows up and says, "I have this lot, and here are the things I like about that floor plan. Here's what I don't like. Show me what the art of the possible is." We can take an existing model, which we're doing. We're going to add some boxes and move some spaces around. And that's happening now.
Right.
And that's a pretty quick process. That will go into the VR team. And, they'll make an architectural model and then we'll apply finishings to it. I mean, we know their finishing palette. We don't know the specifics.
Right.
But they definitely like some stuff and they didn't like others. While the field crew is imaging the lot, their exact lot. And then we'll build for them an augmented reality where their real lot is there sitting in a file format that's 3-dimensional. You can get in it, put the glasses on, walk it. We'll put their model on it, and then we'll be able to take them to walk around it, and we'll be able to go inside, and they have lake views. We'll be able to see their lake views. We'll be able to see where the driveway would be and how you would approach the lot.
Right.
We'll be able to slide it a little bit if they say, well, we like this lot from, this view from that room. We can then slide that a little bit. And so that is our design process. Like, we're going to build those tools.
Right.
And then we're going to sit with them and just be quiet.
Right.
And let them do their customizations, their modifications. When they say, I want to see this, we'll just slide it over a little bit until we have that sort of, optimized for them.
Right. Now, the question, though, that comes from that is, have you had any discussions? I mean, the early on working with the customer side, but just with the customer, do they question the durability or do they, what's the first question that they have you seen, like when you're approaching the modular construction?
It's going to be different for different people, but the one I hear most is that you're a fairly new company. Right? People want to know that you've built enough that they can depend on your building.
Right.
And, we have a very deep and experienced team. Their lead builders built 100 of these things.
Right.
And, the GCs in the field have built a ton of stuff. But as a company, as a as an assembly of people. We're fairly new. And so that's going to really be the first question they have. It's not going to be, can we show them what they want to buy? Because we can, right? We can show you
do anything. Well, and exteriors as well. I mean, when you're talking about the home itself, customizable. You can go with any style. You could go with a farmhouse. You can go with just a standard, just country ranch, or a Scandinavian look, or any type of what you're looking for. Those are available just like any other modular structure. But the newness of the company, I could understand. But it's
the number one.
But when you add up all of the experience of each individual person, they've all been in the business for a long time.
For a long time, yeah.
And so it's just they're all converging and coming together.
Designing and building boxes.
Yes.
We've done hundreds and hundreds.
Right.
Immersive Homes as a standalone entity.
Right.
Not as many, not nearly as many. And so that's the number one question. The number two question is typically about modular qualitative and structural standards. And the number three question that they never ask in the beginning, but they will toward the end, and it always comes down to feasibility.
Right.
Does my lot support it?
Right.
Right. They never, we start researching that before they even show up to the first meeting. Like today's meeting.
Right.
I already had a briefing of where it is, what direction it is,
right.
A little bit, as much as I could know about the topography, the geotechnical. So we'll get ahead of that. They never think to aask it up front, but eventually it's pertinent.
Well, right. Well, yeah, because is my lot can it happen here? Because most of the things, like you put a modular anywhere. You could, if you can pull in electrical, if the utilities and things like that. But you don't really think about it as a consumer. I happen to be also, as the listeners know, just in the real estate business, but from a consumer perspective, you're not thinking, you're like, okay, I buy this lot, everything looks great, and then can we build this house? And they say, well, you've got these electrical lines that are, only 50 feet off the top. We can't get our equipment in there.
Yeah.
So I mean, what happens in those cases? Or, obviously you can say, well, that's all you had and get a new one. Yeah. Or we can find you a lot.
That customer is, if you own a lot and there are power lines that we can't work with, or there's some impediment.
Right.
You're probably going to need to be a panelized customer.
Right.
So
we have other options.
Oh yeah, offsite architecture is I believe going to be the predominant form of single family home construction.
Oh yeah.
Over the
I've been a fan of it for probably 15 years or better. On the panelized side.
Yeah.
There's an East Coast builder that it's the old house new as what they did. So they took the old American style houses, the shaker styles, the salt box, the historic homes that you see in Massachusetts and on the East, and they've converted those into the panelized and ship those to wherever.
That's the wave of the future. And I also think that
so you get the old house like I live in, but the new it was updated code. It's better electrical, better windows, better insulation. Although I do, this, not to take this off side, but just a side joke is I probably would be dead of carbon monoxide poisoning if my house didn't breathe the way it did, because just old furnaces.
Yeah.
See, eventually it'll get all fixed, but.
Yeah, I think
there's always when you're restoring a house, there's always one thing is bigger than the other.
It goes forever.
Yes, no matter what.
It goes forever.
Yes. But I mean, what else would you like to tell me about immersive? What's the message you want to deliver?
Well, I think the way people are going to buy houses in the future is going to be very different.
Yeah.
Just the way like Teslas now are able to be shipped consumer direct. I think the concept of buying a home is going to be done in essentially at virtual home design centers, right? You're going to be able to look at, we're building a couple of design centers. You're going to be able to look at your land and parcels in incredible detail, three-dimensional detail.
Right.
And you're going to be able to look at an almost endless supply of just the way you would go to a website today and look at floor plans.
Right.
Eventually, that stock of floor plans is going to be in virtual reality.
Right.
And you're going to be able to go through virtual neighborhoods of model homes
Mm-hmm.
and walk into them and look at
Yep.
them and decide which ones you want.
It's
We're
really
way down the path
mm-hmm.
of virtual neighborhoods with model homes.
Mm-hmm.
The homes already exist. Uh, the dealerships already exist.
Right.
They will exist uh, in full virtual reality before we build them physically.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I've seen it. I've been in it.
Yeah.
It's going to be the way people buy homes in the future. There'll be a tactile component to this where you have to go to a design center and, for instance, I don't know what the camera can see, but you're going to have uh, particular textures of finishings.
Right.
Um, and you can see them really well. Like if we were to put the glasses on and do it, you would see it really well.
Yes.
But I think there's always going to be a tactile component to what we're doing.
Yes.
But it's not something that needs to happen in a front-loaded way.
Mm.
Everybody has confidence that there is a tactile component.
Well, I mean, you figure I always go back to Google only being alive since what 97, so or 98, somewhere right in there. And so if you think about just how the internet has changed the various industries getting up to this point, and how the overhaul, like with the various websites with Zillow and Realtor.com and those sites that most real estate individuals use to produce or publish their availabilities for properties they've listed, or when their buyer's looking. But that's the first door that a buyer usually goes to, is the internet at this point. So that totally has changed the game of how real estate it was affected. And so now for the last, say 20 or probably 15 years or so, that's the first source, is make sure you have plenty of pictures, make sure you describe, because that's where your buyer's going to first meet you. Before they call you, before they text or email or reach out to see anything. And so I think the first step, getting to your website, which is immersivehomes.com. They can see they can explore some models. They can see some models of what's existing. You can see you can see the one design center is up and running in Williamston, and that the Hall Road, it shows a different structure of one of the like an adaptation of one of the modular products, which I think, I mean, I've been through the website and I think it's absolutely glorious just how much information is packed into it, that helps you to understand the process that you're trying to deliver.
So if one great way to do it uh, is either in one of our homes where we have a hardware and software installation. So
Right.
this home can function with that TV and with the computers that we put into the staging
Right.
into a virtual neighborhood. Like
Right.
we could host somebody here. We could, strap on the goggles
Mm-hmm.
and we could go through all sorts of models and models that are next to each other.
Right.
Like if we wanted to take this piece of land and put 5 more models on it,
Mm-hmm.
we could do that and kind of walk them virtually.
Right.
I think that's sort of, and it can come into any of our offices and do that. We've got one in Traverse, we've got one in Macomb that's going in,
Mm-hmm.
one in Douglas, one in South Florida, one in Southwest Florida that will be coming relatively soon.
Okay.
And so that's a really easy way to start
To experience.
expanding your internet search. So we can't give you virtual reality internet delivery and all of the details that it would require to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
But at any of those different nodes of distribution, you can go through, millions, I
Yeah.
dare say, permutations of home models, finishing standards,
Right.
and et cetera. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, you could get you go down that rabbit hole very easily. Change this, change that.
It's millions. We try. That's one of the big things that we talk about, and like internally, how much of this until
It's overload.
we're shooting everybody's feet off.
Yeah.
Like how many decisions is the right number?
Right.
And the answer we're coming to is it starts really, really broad and it's way too many. But the minute you make one decision, we can eliminate hundreds of thousands of others.
Yes. Yeah, because that one decision changes everything.
Right. And then
Right.
a second decision gets it down even further.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can begin to spare people the absolute mind-numbing number of options.
Well, I know. I mean, well, if you walk into, it's funny too when you see, non-American or people that are visiting America and they go into a grocery store and they see like 10 options for, one thing and they're like not used to having so many different options. And it can be that information or overwhelming feeling. And sometimes that locks people up and makes them just stop and then they don't move forward. So by going in, making that first decision, and the very first decision would be to walk in your front door, and find out what Immersive Homes has to offer for that person. That's the key right there. That's the first decision. And I think that, no, I do. I think that this is really exciting. I think there's so much that's here and it just has to be talked about. And so I'm really excited for you and for Immersive Homes and what can happen with it. So, but on our last little note here, one of the things that we do ask for every single person that we interview is, Amin Curry, what is your anthem?
A sucker for guitar riffs.
Okay.
So my anthem, at least for today,
Uh-huh.
is going to be Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits.
Very nice. Very nice. And now when you hear that song, do you just crank it up or do you go into the air guitar mode?
I've of of the things I was blessed with, that musical ability wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
I will what I will do that's different than other people is I'll put a segment.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple very good solos in there.
Yes.
I'll put those on, and I'll also look for some of Mark Knopfler's others
Okay.
and try to string together some of his guitar work, because he really is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. I grew up on um I always call it cheesy love songs from my mom, soft rock, and classic rock from my dad. So I understand a good guitar riff. Believe me, I understand. He was one that would crank it up, though. That there was always music. That's why I think that I started the Anthem project the way I did because I grew up with music. I don't watch as much TV, but there's always music because that's where I think it speaks to you. So
Yeah.
it's cool. But thank you again for joining us on this week's episode of Life Between Coasts. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to grow our community of listeners. We'd like to thank Amin again for joining us today, and hope you have a great week. And until then, bye-bye.
I founded Immersive Homes probably 2 years ago, and it was